Okay. Yesterday, one of our pupils, Mattia, explained you how to download the web application, but we were many people trying to connect all together. So our server allows up to 100 persons, 100 people connected. So I ask you to connect to the web app only when I will ask you, please. So now another pupil of our middle school will show you the structure of our web app. So we are going to open it and to show you.
Hello.
Ok. Certo che ti sentono. Aspetta.
Good morning.
Ok.
Now we are opening our Erasmus
Ok, alza la voce.
You can see the sun and you can choose the language, of course. Let's click on the English flag. Here you can find all the 8 steps of the last part of San Columbanus Way from Milano to Bobbio. Each step is related to one day of the walk. Let's open, for example, day 1 from Milano to Melegnano.
Si sono collegati. Please close your web app on your device because you can see it doesn't work. Thanks. Giorgio. Lasciate ancora? Lasciate ancora? Gliel'ho detto. Io gliel'ho detto.
Please, we ask you not to open the web app, our Erasmus web app. Close it, please, now, because we can't open it and show you. So please get out of the web app. We will use it during the morning, but not now, please.
Okay.
Let's open, for example, day 1 from Milano to Melegnano. We can find different sections, details, where you can find the starting and arriving points of and the distance. Description of the leg, where you can find the accurate indication of the walk step by step. Overnight stay, the web app suggests some location with refreshing and accommodation points. Points of historical artistic landscape interest. Along the walk is possible to visit some cultural sites and natural. The map, finally, you can find the purchase itinerary in a Google Maps format.
Okay. And this is the map. Okay. Yes.
Every single day has the same structure with the different contents, obviously. We started creating the web app last year, before the pandemic, with a group of students of our middle school, guided by a teacher. We finished the work last week. Now our web app is online and available for anyone who would like to know and do the cultural itinerary. Thank you for your attention.
Okay. Was it clear? Okay,
Yes.
thanks. Giorgio?
Okay, so we will use the application, not all together, this morning. Now I'd like to introduce you to the president, the secretary of the association of the San Columbanus walk, Mauro Steffenini, who will say a few words to you.
Io comincio con la sì. Allora vi saluto allora tutti ovunque siate da parte dell'Associazione Europea del Cammino di San Colombano.
We say good morning to everyone from the
Associazione Europea del Cammino di San Colombano.
Society of European the Walk of San Colombano.
Che è nata nel 2014.
He was born in 240.
Proprio per pensare, tracciare e promuovere il cammino di San Colombano in Europa. Per tracciare, per segnare,
to collocate or to form the walk of San Colombano
nell'Europa.
in all Europe.
E attraversa 7 paesi europei.
And he attraversed the 7 places.
È di circa 5.300 chilometri tutto.
It's about 5,000 kilometers.
Ad esempio in Italia sono circa 320.
In Italy is
320 chilometri.
320 kilometers.
Ma pensate, in Francia sono 3.800 chilometri.
In France is 3,800 kilometers.
E ci sono varie associazioni in ogni paese che seguono, curano e quindi promuovono questi tratti di cammino.
There are in Europe other associations that collocate San Colombano walk.
In Italia poi in particolare gli ultimi 140 km da Milano a Bobbio.
In Italy,
gli ultimi 140 km.
The last 140 kilometers
da Milano a Bobbio.
From Milan to Bobbio.
È stata pensata anche come una via di pellegrinaggio come quella di Santiago.
It was told that it was Santiago's pilgrimage.
O anche la Francigena, conosciuta anche in Francia soprattutto, anche la via Francigena è così.
Or the street of France.
Via Francigena.
Via Francigena.
Ok. Sono ad esempio 7 tappe in Italia che portano poi alla tomba di San Colombano.
There are 7 steps, days that collocate you to San Colombano's tomb.
Dove appunto il pellegrino può anche sostare e riflettere anche da un punto di vista, chiamiamolo, spirituale.
Where the pilgrim can stay and reflect on his chose.
Io anche vi ringrazio e poi concludo del lavoro che avete fatto e state facendo ancora, che state concludendo, per anche l'aiuto che ci avete dato per l'applicazione, per il sito e anche per la descrizione delle tappe.
We say thank you to everyone to stay here and talking to us, to participate to this project of San Colombano.
È stato un lavoro prezioso e anche per noi, perché lo utilizzeremo, lo useremo anche e soprattutto per i giovani.
It was a precious work project that we will use in the future.
E l'augurio è che prima o poi nella vostra vita un tratto del cammino di San Colombano lo dovrete fare.
You say that this work is for you, that you can in the future come and see San Columbanus walk.
Se non 5.300 chilometri, almeno qualcuno di questi chilometri.
Not 5,300 kilometers, but some of this.
Va bene, allora vi ringrazio, vi saluto e buon lavoro ancora e grazie anche della traduttrice.
He say thank you and he say goodbye. Thank you for your work.
So, thank you to Mauro Stefanini. And each person, each pilgrim choose to walk a part of the Columbanus way can have a sort of certificate where you can have the stamps of all the towns, the cities, the places you walk through along the itinerary. This is my certificate because 2 years ago I walked myself with other people along the Columbanus way. It's like the more famous Santiago de Compostela pilgrimage, and it's a very interesting experience because you can know new territories in a particular way. You can make new friends. And it's a very interesting moment in your life. So now we will give you the link of the Padlet we prepared for today's activities. I will copy and share with you in the chat right now. So you can click on it and open the Padlet page of the second day. Okay, Claudia from France. We are allowing all the people asking to participate to the meeting.
Thanks.
Okay. Maybe. No, yes, we are 88 people, so we have more space too for other people. So, okay. I hope you are seeing the Padlet. And now I will share my screen also. So I hope you are seeing the Padlet with all the moments and the activities we are going to do this morning. If we click on the second post, we can find the San Columbanus Way official site, where we can find all the information on the route. As you can see, the route that cross 7 countries in Europe from Northern Ireland to Italy. Okay. So if you now today we are starting from the first part, from the starting point of the last step of the whole itinerary. It's Milano. It's the town of Milano, not far from here, 40 kilometers more or less. And we have selected from the YouTube, we have selected a video, a virtual tour of Milan, because of course we can't guide you to Milan. We would have liked to do it if we could do the real mobility here in Italy. And so we show you this video. It's not only historical or architectural. It's a video on the top 17 things to do in Milano in 2021, in the new normal, as we can say it. So now we can start with the video.
That is not right. Grammarly can help. This sentence is grammatically correct.
In June 2020, I decided to travel to Milan, in Italy, immediately after the country had reopened its borders. In this video, I want to show you what travel in Italy is like now and share my top 17 things to do in Milan during the new normal. It's an incredibly beautiful day today, and I can't wait to head out and discover the sights of Milan now. I first stopped by the tourist office and asked which sites were already open for visitors again. The woman at the tourist information said I was the first foreign tourist that has come to the tourist information since the crisis started. And they also told me the masks are compulsory, even out in the open, so you have to wear a mask no matter where you go. This is the ticket office for the Duomo. So usually it would be like thousands of people standing in line here, but because of the new normal, it's completely empty. The Duomo is the first site on my top 17 list. It's a symbol of Milan and one of the most magnificent cathedrals I've ever seen. Its construction was begun in 1387 and took almost 600 years to complete. The Duomo is most famous for its spectacular exterior of white marble, but the inside is just as beautiful, with enormous stained glass windows and precious artwork, from the floor all the way to the ceiling. The inside of the cathedral, I took the stairs up to the roof terraces. Oh my goodness, I'm literally standing on the roof of the cathedral right now. This is crazy. This is the best place to admire the elaborate spires of the cathedral and the forest of flying buttresses. In the center of the roof rises a spire with the golden Madonnina, which used to be the highest point in the city. The roof of the Duomo offers incredible views of the Piazza del Duomo in the city of Milan. After my visit to the Duomo, I decided to take a break at the famous Camparino bar. This bar is a true Milanese institution and has been open since 1867. And its prestigious main drink is the Campari Sense, which is this right here. Campari is a bittersweet cocktail that is produced in Milan, and let's try it. That's delicious. Really bitter, but absolutely tasty. At the Camparino bar, I tried one of the most famous dishes from Milan. This is a risotto alla milanese, which is basically rice infused with Parmesan cheese and saffron. Oh wow, this is so much better than I expected. It's really delicious, kind of like buttery, you can taste the cheese. It's amazing. After lunch, I went for a quick stroll around Galleria Vittorio Emanuele II. This elegant shopping arcade was built in the 19th century and celebrates the unification of Italy. It houses many luxury boutiques like Prada, Versace, or Louis Vuitton and connects the Piazza del Duomo to the world-famous opera house La Scala. During normal times, it's an extremely bustling shopping street, but as you can see behind me, not during those times. It is still magnificent though. What a beautiful building.
Excuse me, are there problems about audio?
No, it is okay.
No, it's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Guys, if you're in Milan, I highly recommend taking these e-scooters, because here in Italy they're allowed to go 25 kilometers an hour, which is a really nice speed already. The e-scooter apps I found most helpful in Milan were called Bit and Dot. I'll link them and all the other things that I mentioned in this video in the description below. So now I'm standing in front of the Castello Sforzesco. The Sforzas were the mighty family that ruled Renaissance Milan, and this is their castle. It's one of the biggest citadels in Europe. The Castello Sforzesco was built in the 15th century by Francesco Sforza, the Duke of Milan. It was later modernized by Napoleon during the French occupation of Italy. Today, the castle shelters 7 museums which showcase fragments of Milan's cultural and civic history. So one interesting fact about this castle is that the defenses were actually built by Leonardo da Vinci himself. And the last statue that Michelangelo ever made is here in this castle too. But unfortunately, because of the new normal, the museum is currently closed. And I finally got my first ice cream in Italy. This is tiramisu, pistachio and berries, and it's delicious. So good. After visiting the Castello Sforzesco, I continued to the Parco Sempione, which is right next to the castle. The Parco Sempione was originally a preferred hunting ground of the Sforza dukes. During the 19th century, it was converted into a vast public park with winding paths and ornamental ponds. Today, it's the most popular city park of Milan, and people of all ages come to this green space to relax.
Migliaia di bambini stanno morendo in questo momento.
Next, I walked over to the popular bar area around the Arco della Pace. As you can clearly see, the restaurants are open here in Milan, but it's socially distanced eating, so to speak, because the tables are really far apart. So that's really the main difference to what it was like before, I imagine. Alright, so this is something very typically Milanese. This is the aperitivo, which means you pay once and you can eat as much as you want. Usually it's a big buffet, but because of the new normal, no more buffets, so you just get the food at the table. And of course you got the Aperol Spritz, or Spritz Aperol as they say in Italian. It's delicious. It's probably one of my favorite drinks in the world. Alright, so that place is called Cream Lounge and it was really nice. So if you want to have a nice aperitivo in Milano, definitely check out that place. It was the most relaxing moment of the day. So, good morning. Breakfast just arrived and it was brought to my room because breakfast buffets obviously aren't allowed here. Italian breakfast is usually really light, with coffee and something sweet, like pastries or a yogurt. My favorite coffee choice is the cappuccino, with delicious frothy milk on top. Let's go discover Milan some more. So I safely made it more or less fast to the Museo del Novecento. This is really important. If you want to visit museums at the moment in Milano, you have to register online first. So I registered yesterday and reserved a spot. Fairly easy, but you need to know that. Register first and you'll get in much faster. So they checked my temperature as usual. I disinfected my hands and now I'm inside the museum. The Museo del Novecento is organized in chronological order and showcases art from the 20th century with a particular focus on Italian and especially Milanese homegrown talent. It's a great place to get a better understanding of Italy's recent history. The views of the Duomo on the 3rd floor are breathtaking. After the museum, I went for a quick lunch break to one of the typically Italian bars close to the Duomo. I get a simple pizza al taglio, which means pizza by the slice, and a certain Mexican beer. Here's something that might be important for you to know if you're traveling to Milan. As far as I know, they don't sell tickets for the tramways inside the trams, so you need to buy them at the little stands where they also sell newspapers. So that's how I just got mine, and now I'm going to take the tramway to go to the Cimitero Monumentale. I found the tram was a great way to get around Milan. You can use it extremely well with Google Maps. Now here in front of the Cimitero Monumentale, the monumental cemetery, and I mean just by looking at it from the outside it truly seems to be huge. So this is a cemetery that was built in the 19th century and is mostly used for the rich and famous of Milan. The cemetery includes a so-called famedio, a hall of fame for some of the city's most honored citizens, including Alessandro Manzoni, one of the most important writers during the Italian unification. Close to the main entrance, there's a steel and marble memorial to Milan's World War II concentration camp dead. Many of the tombs in the cemetery are impressive works of art. So, since we are in a cemetery, I would like to take a brief moment to remember why I'm doing this trip and to remember all the people who died because of this crisis. So yeah, maybe you want to join me for a quick moment to remember all the people who have suffered. Thank you. So we are close to the central station now, and that's where we're gonna meet our new Italian friend. I was really debating a bit with myself if I should meet someone here, but she said it's okay. So I'm gonna trust the locals, and yeah, excited to see her. Oh, that's a pretty impressive central station, I would say. Style looks a bit fascist though. Alright, so it worked, and I'm here now with
Francesca. Ciao ragazzi.
Now we're gonna try to find the Navigli district and go for a drink there, and maybe also some of the other sites on my list. Milan has some very cool street art, and you often stumble upon it when you least expect it. We saw some really interesting pieces when we walked around in the neighborhood around Porta Ticinese. So now we're in front of the Porta Ticinese, which is an old city gate of Milan. But now let's go to Navigli, because that's really what we came here for. It's also Francesca's first time here.
I'm super excited.
And she's so excited, like all the time, about all the things. It's freedom after 3 months. It's great.
Molto contenta, molto felice.
It's beautiful, beautiful. The Navigli area, especially around the Naviglio Grande Canal, is my favorite area for going out in Milan. It has dozens of bars and is perfect for an aperitivo or simply drinks. The setting along the canal is extremely picturesque. Alright, so we're now here having aperitivo again, and we got some bruschetta, which is Italian bread with different toppings. What kind of bruschetta did you get?
Hummus, pomodori secchi, and mandorle.
Yeah, I got like aubergine with prosciutto crudo, which is Italian ham, and it's so delicious. And I'm back. Wow, that was a pretty productive day. Like all the sights that we saw today, it's pretty amazing. And of course the aperitivo was really nice. It almost felt like being back in the normal life. But then you get up from the table and everything is different again, and you realize that everyone's wearing masks. But yeah, it was a great night in Milan, and then tomorrow we'll continue on to Venice. So I'll talk to you again in the morning. So I just checked out, and now we're going to Gatullo, which is a truly legendary bakery, or pasticceria as they say in Italian. Let's see if it's really as great as everyone says. The Gatullo Bakery and Cafe was opened in 1961 and is still run by the same family. It's famous for its delicious and varied pastries and the perfect spot for breakfast in Milan. And this, my friends, is what I call a perfect Italian breakfast. All these delicious treats and a cappuccino with frothy milk and coffee. Oh, it looks so beautiful. This is incredible. My taste buds are having a party right now. Oh wow. This chocolate-filled pastry, it's incredibly good. I'm now standing in front of the Basilica di San Lorenzo, and as you can easily see by the row of columns in front of it, this is a really old church. It dates back to the 4th century. The Basilica di San Lorenzo is an early Christian church and dates back to the days of the Roman Empire. At its center is a circular structure with 3 adjoining octagonal chapels. I was very impressed by the quiet energy of this place. So those are my recommendations for Milan. What are yours? If you're from there, or if you've been there before, please make sure to leave your tips and advice in the comment box below this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Max Nomad for new travel videos published every day. I'm Max Nomad, and I will talk to you again soon.
So we could see many parts of Milano and appreciate also our traditions, our food delicacies, and the traditions too. Now it's the time of a more cultural moment, because Milano hosts one of the masterpieces of Italian art, and I think one of the most famous frescoes in all the world. It's the Last Supper by Leonardo da Vinci. And now we will see a more cultural video, a virtual tour about the Cenacolo Vinciano in Milano.
In Santa Maria della Grazia in Milan, looking at Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper.
And we're in the room where the monks would eat, the refectory. And so several times a day, the monks would come in here and eat silently and be able to look up at Leonardo's Last Supper.
It's an ideal place, of course, for this particular subject, and not an uncommon one.
So let's talk about the story. At the Last Supper, Christ says, "One of you will betray me," to his 12 apostles.
And one of the ways that this painting is often read is as a reaction to that moment. That is, this is not the moment when Christ utters that, but the moment after, when the reaction takes place. These are his closest followers, and so this is terribly shocking. And so what we see is this incredible set of reactions from the apostles around the table.
So that's one way we can understand the fresco. But there's another aspect of the narrative,
which is in some ways even more important. Christ, you can see, is reaching towards both a glass of wine and towards bread. And this is the institution of the sacrament.
The sacrament of the Eucharist, we might know it as Holy Communion, where Christ says, "Take this bread, for this is my body. Take this wine, for this is my blood, and remember me." And you can see that he reaches out toward the bread and the wine.
But what's interesting is that Christ's hand is widely spread. So it seems as if he's reaching towards the wine, but at the same time, he's reaching toward a bowl. And at the same moment, Judas is reaching towards that same bowl.
Judas is the one who's going to betray Christ. He's been paid 30 pieces of silver by the Romans, and you can see he's grasped that bag of silver in his right hand as he pulls away from Christ, his face cast in shadow.
But he's pulling away at the same time that he's still reaching out to the bowl. And that's one of the ways that Christ identifies who will betray him, the person who shares, who dips with him in that bowl. It's interesting because the history of the art history about this painting is really about scholars arguing about what moment this is.
But I think there are all of these moments here, and the apostles could just as easily be understood as reacting to Christ's words, "One of you will betray me," as they could to Christ saying, "Take the bread, for this is my body, and take the wine, for this is my blood." So Leonardo tells us several moments in this story, and at the same time gives us a sense of the divine, eternal importance of this story. I mean, we would never mistake this for 13 people having dinner. We know this is the Last Supper. We know that this is an important moment, but without any of the obvious symbols of the divine that we would have in the early Renaissance, like the halo.
The figures themselves are monumental in this space and too crowded for that table, creating a kind of energy, a kind of chaos that surrounds the perfection, the solemnity, the geometry of Christ.
That's right. Christ forms an equilateral triangle. His head is in the center of a circle. The window that frames his head reads as a halo. There's that calm center, and then human beings with all of their faults and fears and worries around that divine center.
This is Leonardo da Vinci, who is thinking about mathematics, he's thinking about science, he's thinking about the integration of all of these things.
If we look at earlier images of the Last Supper, there's lots of room at the table, there's lots of decorations in the room. What Leonardo does is he simplifies everything and focuses us on these figures and their gestures, and making it so that there's no room behind the table. The figures take up so much space. It's separating our world from the world of Christ and the apostles. There's no way for us to enter that space.
In fact, there's no way for them to move into our space. There really is this demarcation.
In versions of Last Supper that Leonardo would have seen in Florence, Judas is sitting on the opposite side of the table. And by putting Judas with the other apostles, he does use the table as a barrier between our world and the world of the apostles.
Let's look at those faces for just a moment. Christ is so serene. His eyes are down. One hand is up. One hand is down. To his right is a group of three, and there is Judas, who's facing away from us in shadow. His neck is turned, reminding us that that night he will hang himself. Now, as he pulls away, St. Peter, Christ's protector, rushes in. He's got a knife that he holds around his back, and he comes in, seeming to say almost, "Who is it? I need to defend you."
The third figure in that group of Judas and Peter would be St. John, who looks very resigned and closes his eyes, and that's the tradition in paintings of the Last Supper. My favorite three figures are the figures on the far right. Leonardo was very interested in using the body to reveal the soul, to reveal one's internal nature. But Leonardo was creating these four groups of three, that idea of knitting the figures together, overlapping with one another, creating all this drama.
And creating tensions and contrast between the emotional responses of all these figures. There's that incredible grouping of Thomas pointing upward.
As if to say, is this something that is ordained by God? Is this God's plan that one of us should betray you?
But of course that finger also foreshadows him actually proving Christ's resurrection by plunging that finger into Christ's wound. And then we have Philip and James the Major, and they're in opposition, one throwing his arms out, one bringing his hands together.
And if we were to compare this with earlier Last Suppers, we would see the way that the figures remained very separate from one another. And here, that idea of unified composition, which is so characteristic of the High Renaissance. But what I sense here more than anything is the divinity of Christ here in the center, his calm, the way that all of those perspective lines bring us toward him.
It's interesting because that perspective that the artist is rendering is slightly at odds with the perspective as we see it from down here on the floor. That is, we would need to be close to Christ's level to see this painting in a perspectively correct manner. And it's interesting, in a sense, it elevates us as we look at this painting.
Right, we would have to be, about 10 or 15 feet off the floor to have the perspective work exactly perfectly. So we have this divine presence in the center, indicated in all of these different ways. Now keep in mind, we're not seeing this the way that people would have seen it in 1498.
The painting is in terrible condition, in part because Leonardo experimented with a combination of oil paint and tempera in an environment where fresco would be traditionally used, and the painting began to deteriorate soon after it was completed.
Right, unlike a traditional fresco, which is painted on wet plaster, Leonardo painted on dry plaster, and the paint never really adhered to the wall. So luckily for us, the Last Supper has been conserved.
And so, in some ways, this is a perfect representation of the High Renaissance. It is finding a way of creating a sense of the eternal, a sense of the perfect, but within the chaos that is the human experience.
That's right, uniting the earthly and the divine.
So we could listen and view a precise analysis on this world famous fresco we have in Milano, and we hope, we recommend to visit it when you will come to Italy and to Milano. Now, we have watched some videos. Now is the time for the action. So we will find in the Padlet. We find in the Padlet two different activities.
Just a moment.
Just a moment, please. Ok.
Adesso ero in collo.
No, l'ho già dato.
Ah, gliel'ho già dato.
Il link del
Ma quelli che sono entrati non c'è.
Yes, for the people who entered the meeting right now, we have written again the link in the chat to connect with the Padlet. So you find in the Padlet now two different activities. The first one is this, where we can see a picture of the Duomo di Milano. And if we open this post, we find the first activity. It's the tableau vivant activity. What's a tableau vivant? It's a way to reproduce a building, like for the Milano Duomo, or a picture, like the Ultima Cena by Leonardo da Vinci. So the activity will be to create a tableau vivant with your bodies of the Milano Duomo, take a picture with your mobile phone and post it below the Milano Duomo picture. So you have to try to reproduce the facade of the Duomo di Milano with your bodies and show your performance with a picture. Or you can choose, this activity is thought especially for the ones that are connected from their homes, because you are alone. The other tableau vivant asks you to reproduce the Ultima Cena, the Last Supper. So you have to be in a lot of people. You have to reproduce the scene painted by Leonardo, to take a picture and to post here on the Padlet. And this is the first activity we are going to do. Yes, I've just seen a picture, but you have to represent the facade of the Duomo di Milano, not only your portraits, not your portrait, but the facade of the Duomo di Milano. So the other activity we can find on the Padlet is about the starting point of the last step of Columbanus Way, because it starts in Milano from a church, in a church that is Sant'Eustorgio Basilica. And this activity is more, how can I say, traditional. You have to, not now, wait a moment. You have to connect with our web application. In the first day of the application, you will find a box with a short description of the Sant'Eustorgio Basilica of Milano, and then we will give you the link where you can find a short quiz on the history, on the characteristics of this Church of Milano, where our cultural itinerary starts. So we thought to divide all of us into groups, to switch the activities in two groups, so that the first group can start with the tableau vivant activity and choose between the Duomo of Milano and the Last Supper of Leonardo. And the second group can start the activity on Sant'Eustorgio Basilica. In that way, we don't crash the web application. The first group will be composed by Romania and Italy. The second group by Lithuania, France, Slovakia, and Spain. So, the first group, Romania and Italy, can start in the next 15 minutes to do the first activity, the tableau vivant activity. So Romania and Italy will start when I will give you the start. You start with the tableau vivant activity, choosing one of the two monuments in Milano and taking picture and posting. And Lithuania, France, Slovakia, and Spain start with the second activity, Sant'Eustorgio Basilica, connecting to the web application, reading the text, and then answering the questions you will find on a Google file. Okay, then at 10:15, we will switch the two groups. So the first group will do the Sant'Eustorgio activity, and the second group will do the tableau vivant activity. I don't know if I've been quite clear in the explanation of the activities. Tell me yes or no. Okay, so Romania and Italy, you can start with the tableau vivant activity. So you have to organize and reproduce the Duomo di Milano, take a picture and post, or the Last Supper, as you prefer. And the second group can start with the Sant'Eustorgio activity, connecting to the web application. So, are you ready? At 10:15, we will tell you stop, and we will switch the activities. So, if you are ready, I can say ready, steady, go, and we are looking forward to seeing your pictures on the Padlet. Hello. So we are seeing your fantastic pictures on the Padlet. Good job. And now is the time to switch the two groups. So now Lithuania, France, Slovakia, and Spain will do the tableau vivant activity, reproducing with your bodies the Duomo di Milano facade or the Ultima Cena di Leonardo, taking a picture and posting it on the Padlet. And Romania and Italy will do now the second activity on Sant'Eustorgio Basilica. So you have to open the web app application on the first step of the itinerary and read the short description of the basilica and then connect with the quiz about it. Lo scriviamo?
Sì, sì.
Il link.
Il link del tablet.
Yes. We are going to write again in the chat the link for the quiz.
Ma il quiz è sul... Sì, ma gliel'ho già messo. Ok, ma glielo... No, ascoltami, aspettami a me. Adesso gliel'ho messo, però gliel'ho messo anche qui. Ho capito, ma gliel'ho messo. No,
کنم.
Hello, everyone, and congratulations. Congratulations to all of you because you had fantastic ideas. We saw your pictures, very original, and also many of you that are alone, who are alone at home. You have very original ideas, and also the answers in the quiz are very good. So now it's time for a break, and like we did yesterday, we can we can stay tuned, stay connected, and mute our microphones and close the webcam, and we will meet again at 10 past 11 Italian time. Okay, see you later.
See you.
Perché non parlo?
Welcome back after our break, and it's time to go back to our Columbanus Way history. We are in Milano, and many centuries ago, in Milano, or maybe better in Monza, maybe you know the town of Monza because of the Formula One. Near Milano, Columbanus, coming from Switzerland, met the Queen Theodolinda, and now we found in the archives of our history this episode, the meeting between Columbanus and Queen Theodolinda. Now we can see it on the Padlet, and I will share the video.
Aspetta, firmalo. Ok. Sì, questo. Ci sono. C'è il video. Sì.
Welcome to my palace in Lombardia.
Thank you, my Queen Theodolinda.
I heard about you and what you did in your life and the monasteries you founded in Rome.
After being expelled from Gaul, I've wandered for miles and miles. I crossed the Alps with my monks, and now I'm here. I'm old and tired.
Your presence here in the reign of my husband, King Agila. It's a blessing of heaven for us. You bring the word of the gospel to our people. We give you our property in Bobbio.
Thank you, my queen.
It's not so far from Piacenza, in the river Trebbia Valley. It's a fertile land where there is a small church dedicated to St. Peter.
We will go there with my friends, with my monks. We will found a monastery there in Bobbio, and we will try to live like Christ taught us.
We are a gift for our people. Go in peace.
the main actor.
Okay, so we saw the original video taken in 600 before Christ. After Christ, sorry. There's a question, Jurgita. Ah, no. Okay.
Ode to the main actor.
But we don't know who is the actor. It was the original Columbanus receiving by the Queen of the Longobards the land in northern Italy, in Bobbio, where Columbanus and their monks went. They built there a monastery, and finally, after a few years, Columbanus died there in Bobbio, where he is buried, and where there is the end of the whole European Columbanus way. So now let's go from Milano to San Colombano al Lambro, because maybe Columbanus going from Milano to Bobbio passed through our village, our hill, and as you know, in our mobilities, we did a real bike tour last year in Romania and in Gran Canaria, and now we are going to do a virtual bike tour here in San Colombano al Lambro, starting from our village, following the Columbanus way. And maybe during this short trip, something strange will happen. So now we are going to see and to take part virtually to this bike trip, bike ride.
Questa giusto? Sì.
Oh yes, yes. Then everything changed. I go. Why don't we go cycling? Yes, why not? Let's go along San Columbanus itinerary. English.
Let's go along San Columbanus itinerary. You remember Gran Canaria last year? You like it?
Yes, very much. Yes.
to the Lambro River. Are you thirsty?
Yes, yes. Who's that man? Is he a guest? He's your vampire. But he's got a book.
This is a very fertile hill, situated almost in the middle of the Padana plain, near the village of San Colombano, a famous castle surrounded by strong walls. At the foot of the hill, it flows the Lambro, clear river. Although it's narrow, ordinary boats can float on it. Coming down from Monza, it flows into the Po River, not far from here. If you look towards west, your sight spreads in an appreciated loneliness and in a friendly silence. I don't know any other place where, from a low elevation, you can see so many noble territories. If you only turn around your side, you can see the towns of Pavia, Piacenza and Cremona. We have behind the Alps, which divide us from France, with their snowy peaks surrounded by the clouds. They seem to touch the sky. In front of your eyes you have the Apennine Mountains and a limitless number of territories and castles, among which Casteggio. I can clearly see under my feet the Po River, which, with its wide curves, slithers among the fertile plantations of the plain.
I remember this point. We studied at school. Yes! It's we visited San Columbanus.
Perché nero? No.
Okay, this was the ride bike we had to do really in San Colombano al Lambro with all of you. Along the route, our girls, our pupils, ran into a character, ran into a person who was Francesco Petrarca. Now we should like that you answer a few questions about this person, about Francesco Petrarca. We can find in the Padlet a post where you can post your answers and also some pictures about Francesco Petrarca and discover who was this person, this Italian person who lived in Italy many centuries ago. So in this post, in the Padlet with the pencils, okay, some of you already wrote something. Yes, now the task is to find a picture and some information about Francesco Petrarca on the internet and post it in this wall. So you can start your research, and in particular we would like you to discover in which year Francesco Petrarca visited our village of San Colombano al Lambro. In which year he was in San Colombano al Lambro. in particular, we ask you to discover this date. So, now we have a few minutes, a quarter, to answer these questions and to fill our wall.
Anche voi. Ok.
Hello. You did a fantastic job. You did a fantastic job. You found many pictures about Francesco Petrarca, one of the most important poets in the Italian literature. And he was not only in Italy, but also in France, in Provence. And he lived for a little time also in San Colombano al Lambro in 1353, as you wrote in the Padlet. Fantastic, amazing job. Now, wow, we saw also some drawings on the Padlet. Fantastic job. Some of you drew also the picture of Francesco Petrarca. Now we are going to show you the certificate of the Columbanus itinerary, Columbanus Way. That we find on the Padlet. Is the final, the last post we find we prepared on the Padlet. We can find here the certificate. So on our virtual certificate, it has appeared the stamp of our village, San Colombano al Lambro. We will have another activity in San Colombano al Lambro tomorrow morning. And then we will move to the last part of the itinerary, to Bobbio. So, for today, our activities are over. We thank you, we thank all of you. You did a great job in each activities. We hope you enjoyed them, and we will see you. We will see again tomorrow in the morning at 8 for Spain, 9 for Italy, Slovakia, and France, at 10 o'clock for Romania and Lithuania, for the last day of our virtual mobility. Okay, thank you all, and see you tomorrow morning. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day too.
Have a nice day too. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye to all of you.
Bye.
Congratulations. A fantastic job you did.
Thank you, Rodica. Bye.
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 And the